What? You thought I would talk about learning English? Let me tell you something. There is a reason why you are watching this video, right? Perhaps you'd like to change your learning strategies, or you don't like your ESL instructor's teaching methods, and maybe you have been studying for a long time and you don't see any progress. So you think that something is wrong, right? Now, you are watching me, the most professional ESL instructor. There were several scientific research, and I'm wondering if you agree with their results. So they all reached the same conclusion that 85% of English learners attained the advanced level in short time just because of their ESL instructor's professionalism. And if you agree, then it's really fascinating that you agree with something I've just made up. Actually, you are the key factor. Solely you decide when you reach the desirable level, and that's what I did when I started learning English. I stopped lying to myself and making excuses like, I don't know what to do, I don't have any strategies for learning language, I need an instructor, and blah blah blah. And I didn't have a tutor because I simply didn't have any money for that. I had just lost my job and no one would offer me one. All I had was internet, my notebooks, and a pen. They look awful. Just look at them. Okay? Just look. But it was worth it. I have overall 6 notebooks like that, and they contain approximately 5,000 words, which is actually not a lot. I would have more than that if I had written words with translations, but instead I wanted to learn English through English because I wanted to speak fast and recognize words immediately while listening to someone. And I didn't need anyone or any tip to understand how my brain functions. It was as clear as day that if I had learned all those words with translations, I would have associated them with my first language. And I'd have translated them in my mind first, then would have used them in my speech. As a result, I'd have never started thinking in English. I didn't want it, so I rejected the idea of writing words with translations, which is the easiest way of learning new words, by the way, and I started learning the new vocabulary through definitions, photos, and sometimes I even used to draw pictures of processes and objects just to remember them. I even remember that I spent almost half an hour to understand the definition of the word ratio. That was an absolutely difficult word to understand at that time. I couldn't get the meaning of it, and no dictionary would help me. Finally, I found out its meaning in a math book. So yeah, sometimes I used to spend hell of a time just on one word. Now tell me what you think. Does learning definitions help us to use new words in our speech correctly? The answer is no. Unfortunately, knowing the word's meaning doesn't mean knowing how to use it in a sentence. I would say that was the most difficult part of learning English. That's why I carried out a detailed research into the usage of each word I would learn. I used to start with looking up the word's definitions. Then I would Google the word's usage in sentences. For instance, let's say the word was profound. I would go online and Google profound in sentences. Then I would observe and analyze all those examples. After I tried to use those words in my speech by copying the structures. Sometimes it was actually difficult to make up sentences orally from the first attempt. So I would write my own examples by copying structures from the internet. When I used to study English, I would prefer quality over quantity. I would learn 10 words knowing their definitions and the usage, rather than learning more words without knowing how to use them. But unfortunately, I made a huge mistake. I had no idea and nobody had ever taught me about collocations, specific prepositions we use with words, and that some words require gerunds and others have to be followed by infinitives. Therefore, I went through the same process by analyzing the usage of every word I'd already learned. And learning collocations and prepositions completely changed my speaking skills. Now, whenever I listen to my old recordings, I'm like, somebody skipped grammar lessons. So I really recommend to learn collocations, prepositions that words require, and focus on gerunds and infinitives while learning new words. Otherwise, you are going to go through the same process over and over again. That's it. We reached the end of the first part of my English learning journey, and I shared with you how I learned vocabulary. Next time I'll tell you how I improved my listening skills. And of course, I will see you in the next one. Have a nice day. Bye bye.